This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Jamie Cox over Zoom. Jamie, first and foremost, how are you doing, mate?
I'm all good, Andy. All good, mate.
It's good to hear. Now, obviously, we've had a brief chat off camera, but as I'm going to do with you, but I have asked every other person so far, how are you finding life in lockdown?
Yes, it's not so bad, you know what I mean? It's just the only thing is I'm missing the gym and missing training. That is the only thing. I don't mind any other time. I don't mind being home.
What have you been doing to try and keep yourself busy and active? How has your training been going away from gym life?
Yeah, I've just been doing the runs and I've been doing like bike cycling. Been just trying to get the miles in there and just some shadow, some exercises in the garden. That's all I can really do. I ain't really, not much else I can really do. But I've been trying to do it every day. So,
obviously, as I mentioned to you off camera, Jamie, I want to try and do a bit more of like a career reflection with yourself, going back to your amateur days. So we'll get into that, and we'll start off with your amateur career. Talk to me about your memories. Obviously, I know you won the gold medal at the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne. Just talking about everything and that as well.
Yeah. Man, I booked for England. I was in the England squad, and I won a few national titles, and it was good. You know, I was around some great boys: Tony Borg, David Price, Don Broaders, Frankie Gavin, Stephen Smith, Neil Perkins, James DeGale. We had a good team. You know what I mean? And it was great. It was great, and but I had a lot of stoppages and knockouts in my amateur career, and I just decided to turn pro because I thought maybe it was suited to the pro style. But you know, it was good. I had a good time. It was good going around the world, getting some good experience, boxing some good fighters, and it was really, really good. But it's all a good journey. Yeah.
What's it like for a young lad being able to travel the world, visit so many different places, so many different cities with your friends? You know, was it hard to stay focused on the task and knowing you was visiting so many beautiful different places?
Nah, I was quite. When I was younger, I was very serious. You know, about the boxing. Could have been in the back garden. I didn't care. I didn't look at the country. I looked at the ring. But yeah, it was good. Just different. Different environment to be boxing in, and all teaches you. And when you're young and you learn from these experiences, and it shapes you as a person.
I've spoken to a few people during lockdown and reflected on their amateur days, and they've kind of given me a little bit of like a mischievous side to what they did used to get up to back then. Do you have any stories you could share with us as well?
A lot, but I can't really say them on here. But yeah, we had some fun, but yeah, it was good day. It was good days. You know, I was the youngest in the squad, in the senior squad when I was there with the boys. So I looked up to these guys, and they I wanted to achieve, and be like them. They're a bit older than me, so. But it was great set of lads. Look what they got on to. Flipping out. I'm watching Tony Borg, in the SAS. There, you know what I mean? And James DeGale, what he did. Frankie, I think the only world ever amateur champion, and I made some great friends. And most probably one of my best friends in boxing, Don Broaders. You know what I mean? Is from amateur days. You know what I mean? He's one. He come down to my daughter's christening just not so long ago. So, it's great. It's great that you build up the relationships, and it's great. And it's great to see these, even Tyson. You know what I mean? I've got him right here behind me. You know what I mean? It's, what he's done is something remarkable.
I actually know Don very well myself, so it's nice to know that you do as well.
Yeah,
Just to touch on, obviously, you mentioned some of the guys that you was with, Don Broadhurst, Frankie Gavin, David Price, all had terrific amateur careers.
yeah.
When they all turn professional, same with yourself, same with anybody who boxes for GB and them amateur days, there's always the expectation, the pressure, the next greatest thing that will come through British boxing, who will go on to achieve so much as professionals, travel the world, winning world titles.
Yeah.
That pressure's instantly put on you. How and why do you feel that maybe those guys and yourself that so far haven't quite been able to live up to that expectation?
I don't know. I don't know. Outside factors. Uh, God knows. For one day life can change from one day to the next. So, yeah, I don't know what's. I can't tell you about anyone else's story. You know what I mean? But but they, they all act. Just for one, like Tyson, James DeGale, they done more. Tony Bellew, they done more than expected. You know what I mean? So Derek Chisora, they've done things really great.
What was it like for yourself when you turned over? Did you feel that pressure? Did you feel like not the world was on your shoulders, but everybody just kind of expected to see you move quickly towards titles and further?
No, I don't care what no one else thinks. You know what I mean? I'm my own worst critic anyway. I don't need nothing. Like, I always put the pressure on myself to perform. So, and sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't.
What did you make then of that transition from amateur to professional? What's your earliest memories of it all?
I preferred it. The only thing is that you don't fight as much.
Yeah.
I'm having some spars that I'm having are like fights. It's like I'm having a fight every day in the gym, but you ain't getting paid.
Do you feel that is as well, in your case, a sense of frustration that because you have, like I've said, had those periods away from the sport and away from the ring, when you do get into sparring, it's kind of like a release for yourself, a chance to just let your hands go and create that fight environment that you've missed over periods of your career?
No, I don't. I just, sparring for me is just you're working towards your rival or whatever, just do what. It's just part of the training. You got your sparring, you got your things, you got to do your sit-ups, you got to do your press-ups, you got to do your runs, you got to do strength conditioning, you got to eat, you got to sleep. You know what I mean? It's just part of it. But I try when I'm fully in camp, I try to do everything 100%. I try to do it the best I can.
You obviously started off working with Richie Woodall. What was that like in your early days?
Yeah, Richie. It was just an easy transition to work with Richie. Richie was a nice guy, and he was a world champion, obviously himself. And he was in the England squad, so I just asked Richie, would he train me? It was the easy transition to do that. Then I met John Costello, which is John for me is like a second father. You know what I mean? He brought the best out of me, and then I just had a couple of losses, and I moved back home, and I had a daughter, so because I was living in Birmingham, and I just thought Newport's not too far. And I've trained with Tony before, and I just thought it was a good transition, just a different dimension.
Obviously, we'll come on to
Tony's produced. You've got Lee Selby, you've got Gary Buckland. He's produced a lot of great fighters himself.
We'll also come on to John and Tony in a minute, but just with Richie, what was it like to be able to work with somebody who was a world champion at the time? Like you say, he'd achieved great things in the sport, amateur record as well.
Oh, it was a great introduction to the pro game, and Richie and his dad, they're really good people. They bless him, and Richie's was a tremendous athlete, and he passed that on into the fighters that he had underneath him.
I've read and I've seen. Richie was very. he thought highly of you. He rated you very highly when
Yeah,
you were working together. He always saw a bigger picture with you and what you could achieve. For
yeah.
a young lad coming through, what was that like, having somebody like him backing you, believing in you to the point where he saw the potential world champion in the future?
Yeah, it's brilliant, you know. But it's down to yourself, isn't it, to go and do it? So, but yeah, it's great to see when you got people that know the game and so know the game. Yeah, and they believe, you know, they must see something because that, you know, they've been in the game longer than us and they've been at the top level.
Talks about as well then your time with John Costello. Obviously, I know you have a brilliant relationship with John still.
Yeah, of course.
How did you come about then meeting John? Talk to me about the initial conversation.
Oh, it was brilliant because Richie you know, Richie did a great introduction, but my style was more suited to planting my feet, maybe a little bit, let some shots go. And I just followed up with John because John was bringing his son there because he turned pro, which is, you know, flipping out. I was one of my closest friends there, you know, they always will be. And which is Tommy Costello, who was a great amateur himself because John had a great gym. Uh, John had a great amateur gym and produced a lot of national champions. Then obviously his son transitioned into the pro game. And I met there, and then flipping out, me and Tommy about the same way. We must have punched a million holes into each other. And then I just asked John one day, like, I spoke to Richie and said, do you mind if I can work with you, you know? And he said, obviously, you know, he don't want to, you know, to Richie and that, you know, yeah, no worries if it's okay with Richie. So, and the thing started, you know, John really boosted me up and made me the fighter that I was. And yeah, must have been out for John because with Tommy and me when we used to spar, Jesus, it was no old spars, you know what I mean? And yeah, and then you got his other son, which is Joe Costello, who was really good. And he had a car accident, so he got knocked over by a car and landed on his head. So he had, I think, a blood clot on the brain. So that stopped his career. But Joe would have been, I think Joe could have won a world title.
What did you feel was the biggest or the best thing that John was able to teach you and train you when you was working together?
He gave me real great belief, and you know, he was very regimented in the gym, and we knew each other. That was the best thing, you know. You got to know each other as a coach. You know, you don't need too many words to know. You know, I understood him and he understood me, so we worked well, and we always will.
You said, and you still say, you know, John's like a second father to you. When you
Yeah.
moved to Birmingham, how key was it to have somebody who was like that type of support network for you?
Yeah. Well, I can't even really remember too much, really, but I was up there for so many years.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was great. You know, when someone believes in you the way you do, it gives you an extra boost. Makes you feel, improves you 10% more.
Let's
The way John did.
just reflect on those couple of losses that you mentioned earlier. Obviously, the first one
Yeah.
being George Groves. That
Yeah.
World Boxing Super Series, it was, you know, your first chance to crack that world scene. And I remember the fight, you was boxing brilliantly. But from my recollection, it just seemed like you was just overly eager to try and put your foot down a bit to try and force something.
Yeah.
Is that your memory of it?
Yeah. The game plan was the game plan was with George just to go after 6 rounds because he fades a little bit, and I was just sticking behind the jab, and I was trying to use, not trying to, me, I take a lot of chances and put it on the line, and I was doing that. And my last memory walking to the ring was that he can punch because, I don't really get too wary, and the worst thing was he hit me with his best shot in one of the first rounds on the chin, and it didn't really do too much. And with with the money and the life-changing money and everything that was on the line, you know, when I seen a glimpse of hope and when I just seen a little chance that he was cracking, you know, I ain't going after that. And, you know, maybe a bit too eagerness. But looking back, well, I should have just stuck with a jab and just boxed him a little bit more and then broke him down. But you know, George is you know, look, to come back from them, to win a world title after them fights with Carl Froch, and that shows some resilience and what a champion he is. And, you know, first time I've been down in my life. So that was a great body shot.
Obviously, he went on to face Callum Smith in that final. Callum victorious. What did you make of their fight?
Yeah, it was a great fight. I can't really remember it too much. I know it was a really good fight. You know, George is big for the weight anyway. Flipping out, and how big Callum is. Yeah. It's just he uses them tools well.
You know, we're mentioning weights now. With you, and I've asked you before, and I'm sure people ask you in the future. People always say, if Jamie Cox can get down to middleweight, he could be a force there. He could cause some problems. You've always said you feel comfortable at super middle. It's not a struggle. It's not necessarily easy, but it's not a struggle for you to make.
Yeah.
Why is it that you're determined to stick to 168 and you don't follow maybe the advice of Hearn or others to drop to 160?
No, we're going to try and get to 160. And that is the plan now, and just give it a go and see there. But, you know, I got a little bit older now, so we'll see, because I always eat healthy, but when you're dying, I moved up 2 weights and I was eating good food, and you know, that was a big to drop back down again when you've been eating well, and you know, that was a bit of my downfall. But yeah, it's yeah, you know, I'm strong enough to be at 168, but I'm not big enough. And yeah, we'll see. I'll try and get to 160 and get some good fights down there.
What's brought that decision then to move to 160 now?
Just obviously, you know, after fighting 168, I seen, you know, the top level. This you know, maybe 160 is would be a better place for me.
So we'll come on to what can lie ahead for 160 then, but just to stick to kind of your career so far before we do come on to the future. Yep. Obviously, we mentioned the George Groves defeat. Then you came back, you had a victory, and then you faced John Ryder. You was kind of the favourite going into that fight, if I remember. What went wrong for you on that night? What didn't go to plan?
Sometimes you just don't perform, and you know, I just didn't perform, and credit to John Ryder. You know what I mean? He beat me fair and square. He's a top lad too.
When you suffer 2 defeats like that, when you're trying to achieve your own goals in the sport, how difficult was it for you mentally to deal with it?
Of course, I've got a winning mentality. You know what I mean? I don't try and run away from boxing. I don't try and run away and just, you know, I try and I try and put it on the line, and you know, of course, boxing is my life. You know what I mean? So a loss to me is major. Maybe some people, I take it serious, the sport.
Obviously now, in the current day, you're teamed up with Tony Borg. Talk to me about that, and you know, how did it all come about? What made you take that decision to move to Tony?
Oh, I've trained with Tony before, and I get on well with him. And because I moved back home, Newport's not too far, so it was an easy move to go with someone that comfortable, and he's tried and tested. So yeah.
What was it? What were the what's the initial sessions been like with Tony?
Yeah, he's very big on conditioning. Jesus, man, I would say everyone in the gym, if they're not the best, you're going to have hard night's work because everyone's fit there.
You obviously got both the Selby brothers who train with Tony as well. What's it like seeing them? Obviously, Lee, former world champion, Andrew chasing world titles.
Of course, it's good to be around Lee Selby. You know what I mean? For me, he's you know, he lost to He lost to
Warrington.
Warrington, and for me, Selby's better than that. I know it's maybe weight or something. You know what I mean? He had to move up, but to watch them train and gives you great motivation.
Obviously, we was meant to see you out in May. Well, I say May. We were supposed to see you this month. How gutting was it for you to not be able to get on a show and after 2 years out?
Yeah, because I was just scared. We didn't know this was going to happen, did we? You know what I mean? But I got you got to stay ready because with this Matchroom HQ coming up and all these things, doesn't matter. You know, it's just you got to change the wave, and that's it. Just stay on point.
That's something I was going to ask you. Obviously, there's talks of those behind closed doors shows taking place now. British Boxing Board of Control have released some guidelines for potential shows. No more than 5 fights on a card.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what are your thoughts on behind closed doors shows?
Me, I don't really care. The only thing is that it's a boxing ring, but obviously, for me, the sparring, you know, you ain't gonna get this. So, but I'll be ready. You know what I mean? That's, you know, you might be a little bit off preparation because you're doing stuff that isn't available. The resources and your trainer isn't there as much as you can do the training sessions online with Tony. Like we do like a group chat, or whatever, and yeah, it's. That's the only thing. You might be a bit off. You won't be 100%. No one's going to be 100%.
Have you spoken to anybody? Have you spoken to Eddie about those shows?
No, not as much. No, I just, you know, I've only just seen it myself. You know, my manager will speak to Matchroom, and he knows a little bit more than me. But yeah, I'm just doing the training and getting ready just in case.
How did you see before? Obviously, you know, everything came out. You know, coronavirus, lockdown, and what have you. How did you see this year going for you?
I just seen me. You know, for me, I'm at the later end of my career, so just a couple of wins, and I could get a couple of big fights, and that's what I'm interested in, getting some big fights.
Do you feel that sense of frustration? You know, that you've just had a couple of years out of the ring, and now you was meant to be back in May, and it's kind of been taken away from you for something out of your own hands.
You gotta roll with the punches. No, it's life. You have to. Yeah, it's frustrating, but Jesus, this is life.
You obviously, you know, you mentioned those big fights. What do you feel you still have left in the tank? What do you feel you can still achieve in the sport?
Well, we see. I'll try to get 160, get some big fights. I'm just looking forward to having some good fights and, you know, performing and see what we can get. And then when I can't perform no more, there we go.
160. I'm just trying to think of, you know, fighters off the top of my head.
You got
One
like
name,
Liam Williams, another great fighter.
Liam Williams. I was about to say, talk to me about that. If that fight was to come up, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Jesus, I'm a fighter. Jesus, you don't need to say it. Of course, yeah, I'd love to fight anyone. Just obviously, I need a couple more fights, get down to the weight and see. And Liam Williams, anyway, he's, you know, he's at the top of the tree at the minute, so I need to work up.
What are your thoughts on Liam as a fighter and his style? He's obviously had a very impressive run of victories since his defeats to Liam Smith.
He's looking very, very good. Looking very good. He's working with Ingle, and they're a good team up there. You know what I mean? So you have to be on point for guys like them.
Beyond that, you obviously have the likes of, you know, Demetrius Andrade, Triple G, Canelo, Jamal Charlo, who hold the world titles. Is it still the ambition to try to engineer yourself into a position, maneuver yourself into a position for a crack at some form of a world title?
Of course, always. You know, that was my goal from day one when I started boxing, to be a world champion. So if I, you know, that is the goal. I was in touching distance, and now I need to, you know, get 160 and give it a good shot.
Jamie, before I do let you go to enjoy the rest of your day, I just want to get your thoughts on a few fights that have been spoken about in the boxing world. Starting off with Fury Joshua, everybody would love to see that undisputed title fight, 2 Brits going at it. in your opinion, how big of a fight would that be in heavyweight or in boxing history?
Jesus, I don't. Have they ever been unified the titles in UK before heavyweight? I don't know. I'm not sure. So it's got to be the biggest, isn't it? It's got to be the biggest fight in UK heavyweight boxing ever.
Who do you think would win? How do you think a fight would play out between the pair of them?
George is a great fighter. They're both great fighters, but Fury for me.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talk at the minute around Andi Ruiz Jr. and what could lie ahead for him. You mentioned Tony Bellew earlier. At one point, probably a few weeks ago now, those talks of Ruiz and Bellew floating about on social media, you know, some rumours knocking about there. What would be your thoughts if Tony was to return to the ring to face Andi Ruiz Jr.?
Tony would give him out. Yeah, Tony's so mad, isn't he? So, yeah, I think Tony can outbox him.
What's it been like for you to see Tony on SAS, as we mentioned earlier? You've been watching him.
Oh, man, it's brilliant, you know, to see people like that watch. Yeah, I don't know if you've been watching it. He's been entertaining.
Rather him than me.
I thought maybe the man there was going to get a left hand.
Jamie, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, and I'm going to leave it there now so you can enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers,
I appreciate your time. Stay safe. Before I let you go, what would you like to say to everyone who tunes in to watch our interview?
No, just everyone that supported me, and big up to Eddie Hearn. You know, he's the main man in the boxing world at the minute, and to keep the boxing going and doing these shows at the Matchroom HQ. You know, he's pulling out the bag. And yeah, just to everyone that supported me, thank you very much.